Hello, in this video I'd like to go over creating LOD meshes for Lumberyard using procedural modeling with a Blender add-on named Sorcar. I've got the latest long-term support version of Blender open, 2.83, and I'm going to do a couple things to set up my default scene, and then I'll go over installing Sorcar. Just move these to collection 2 and hide them. To get the add-on, you'll need to go to GitHub, and I'll post a link to this in the description, and under the code, download the zip. Back in Blender, we'll open up Edit Preferences, Add-ons, Install. We'll go to Sorcar add-on that we installed. It should be in there now. And it's enabled. So I'll bring this window up and change it to the new Sorcar add-on, and this will be my default setup. So I'll save that. I'll restart the program to make sure everything's going. To start using the add-on, click plus new to create a new Sorcar graph. All of the options are under the add menu, or you can hit Shift A to bring that up. Shift A and search will be your friend. So under inputs, got a lot of options. These will create the standard meshes, similar to adding an object in object mode. There's a couple of other options received from SphereChalk, another procedural generation add-on that I'll be using. Import FBX. Custom object will take an object that's already in your scene. But I'd like to generate LODs for Lumberyard. So I want to start by taking a look at what an LOD that's already generated for Lumberyard would look like. So I'll import an FBX and go to maybe the samples project or the starter game project and look for an asset to import. So I'll take a look at AM Rockcliffe 02 FBX. Set preview will execute the node. Alright, expanding that, got a couple things that are hidden. Enable hidden viewport. Looks like this has been renamed. Object is the default name for anything that's created here. You can see it here in Sorcar. So something's been renamed here. We'll have to take a look. We have 3 LODs with the mesh and material. A collider object. Might be the red that we're seeing. Yeah. I wonder if those vertex colors have to be red. And then this object, let's import the FBX normally. So I found this in the dev gems starter game. Environment assets, objects, rocks. Okay, that's simply the LOD0, the highest quality mesh. Alright, so we'll look to create something similar. A collider mesh, and then some number of LOD meshes. It uses this underscore LOD1, well, underscore LOD0 through whatever you want to get the LODs, I think the maximum is 6. And then collider, I know it can be named _PhysX to automatically be imported the asset processor as a collider, physics collider, at least a legacy collider. And then we'll look at maybe assigning just a blank material to start with to see if that gives it a material slot. Otherwise, all of these objects are grouped in an empty, which has no geometry. So this is the sort of form that I'll look to recreate with Sorcar. So I'll delete all of this. And from the new Sorcar graph, Shift-A, inputs, we have empty. Plain axes was the option that we were seeing there. Give it a name. Pick up some sort of rock boulder. That was named group. I'm not sure that actually does any extra processing with the asset processor. And I'll hit set preview and you can see the boulder groups generated up here. Under inputs, create a cube. Looks like that replaced what was done before. They're not tied together yet. No worries. We'll want to parent the cube to the empty. There are the beginnings of the groups formed. You can also select a node and press Shift-E to duplicate it. This would be for the highest quality mesh. Alright, everything looks good there. So now we'll set up a couple just parametric options and some options for generating very simple boulder to get us through the process of making the rest of the LODs and the collider. So we start by randomizing the vertices of the boulder. It's got an offset value. Let's see how that looks. Here you see a random seed. If you press have a node selected and press Ctrl H, it will bring up any hidden options. Uniformity. This might be the direction that it travels. It's normal. And the seed, something you might want to do. Have an input number, either generated randomly or supply it. This same seed can be the seed value for any similar seed amount in a node. And so with one value you can toggle what's going on across the entire range of operations. That's one value. That's one way to do it. I'll add a simple deform. This gives you lots of options to play with. Taper in the Z direction. Factor. Go negative. Alright, maybe just repeat that. I think maybe scaling would be more effective for what I'm trying to go for. So world transform. Requires a vector. This could also be one of the options that we set over here and sort of have as our control values. Okay. I'll add another modifier or two, the subdivision surface. Now, okay. And a displace modifier, which is going to take a texture. Can create a texture over here. They have marble. Let's try using that. I don't know if the size will be right. Okay. The size will change things a lot here. It doesn't refresh automatically. I think I need to make some change in Sorcar. So maybe I might change the scale a bit, but otherwise this is good enough to generate something else with. Yeah, I set the subdivision surface modifier type to Catmull Clark, and it's looking much more boulder-like. I think I'll go with this rather than whatever was happening before. So we'll duplicate this object. I don't think this is the best way to work with multiple objects, but this will keep everything on the same graph. So that'll be good for this demonstration. You see up here, just copy the object, add Blender's default duplicate value. Doing it this way, we've got to complete all the work on the first LOD before we move on to work with the second one. So if I do need to add anything, it'll be in this section here. We'll start off by renaming that. And it looks like it was parented automatically to the boulder group empty. So nothing needs to be done there. We'll just decimate this for an LOD. We want to take a look first at vertices right now. They're not triangulated. That's one thing you could do. You could do that on import too, but maybe you want to have more control. Okay, so the duplicate object. Everything looks good. We do need material, and it's going to be needed on everything, so that's one thing we could add also before we duplicate it. Let's go all the materials from before. I'll just name this default. And that material is propagated to the second LOD. So I think that's the perfect setup for what we'd like to do. Let's decimate this. I haven't looked at UVs, and I don't think I will for this video, but to preserve them using the decimate modifier, click on that. Here you can see one sort of issue with doing it this way is both are being displayed at once. There's another decimate modifier too. Take a look at that. Actually take a look at the hidden values. Oh, there we go. See the angle limit. I'll just increase this to 15. Take a look at the first LOD. Okay, that's a lot of geometry removed. I'm not sure. Definitely doesn't look right, but it's an LOD with less geometry for now. So we'll do the same thing and make a third one. Just duplicate it, set its name, decimate it. Alright. I'll save this. I should have saved much earlier. This add-on has a tendency to crash some of the modifiers, depending on the mesh that you're working with, how complicated it is. It can just be too much processing to keep running reliably. So I'll save this. And I'll duplicate the object one more time for the collider. And I'll use phys for the suffix. So the asset processor will take care of it automatically. I've seen this material named no draw before. Not sure if that is something that's handled automatically either. But what a very simple mesh for this object. I'll take a look at what convex hull does. It's not quite as simple as I'm thinking. I'm wanting more like 6 vertices. So rather than working with sort of the end folder, maybe we'll go back to the object we began with. Delete that. And here we're going to have to go back and actually do things here. Alter the order that So before the subdivision surface modifier, this is a very simple mesh, and that's it. See how it looks in comparison to the end mesh. It's close enough. It has 8 vertices, which is fine. So we'll need to duplicate that object right there. And rename it. You press Alt and move right, it'll disconnect everything and you'll be able to reconnect things one by one. So what was named LOD0 needs to be the PhysX, the Phys collider. And we'll duplicate it before the subdivision and rename that. It doesn't have the material applied yet. Disconnect that before duplication. You see how easy it is to just change things around. Okay. Three LODs, starting from 0, your best quality mesh. Double check that now, it looks right. Second best quality, third best, and the collider. This started from a cube, so it should have UVs already generated. So we'll just have to see how that blank texture is imported into Lumberyard. I will take a look at them. Just open up UV editor. And okay, that's LOD1. Looks like it's preserving the boundaries of those. So that's fine for now. With all of those generated, save one more time. There is an option to export FBX directly here, but I think I'd prefer to select things and do that manually from Blender. So everything selected, export FBX. Select the defaults for Blender or for Lumberyard. Apply all the transforms. I have the objects selected. I think active collection would be the same. And I'll leave everything because the only objects that I have selected are the ones I want exported. We'll see how this imports into Lumberyard next. So I've moved the FBX into my project directory. Asset processor has processed it. search for it in the asset browser, and here it comes up. See, it does have the PhysX collision mesh automatically because we gave it that suffix. It has LOD 1 and 2 listed, the two actual LODs, and then LOD 0, it's taken as the static mesh. Right click and edit settings. Selected physics. Triangle mesh. 104, LOD 0 as the main mesh, and then two LOD meshes. And it also has the legacy selected. So it looks like everything's set up pretty well there. Just drop it in the level. Whoa. Might be in it. It's large. Okay. So we'll want to see if the LODs are working. I'll turn this to wireframe mode. Right click on the helper icon. We get where I can see the sky. And we'll turn up the LOD distance so the transition just happens quicker. You can see it. Alright. There we go. Switch to one of them. And there's the second. It looks from here like the triangulation isn't what we would want. So that's definitely something that next time we'll take a look at doing within Blender before it's exporting, so it's not necessary to triangulate on import. We'll take a quick look at the material. Just having the material did come in. Open the material editor. Okay, I added the no draw material automatically, probably because the phys suffix has default listed. So that looks good too. So in this video we looked at importing an FBX and creating one of the standard Blender meshes. In the next video I'd like to cover working from a mesh that you already have created in Blender, a custom object, as well as important nodes for looping through an object, looping through its components, its vertices, edges, and faces, as well as important selection nodes for navigating around the mesh during the operations. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed everything.